Hello, beautiful souls. You are listening to Starfire, Elemental Alchemy and Zodiac Power Podcast.
where we are dedicated to transforming lives through the fusion of elemental alchemy and zodiac wisdom. Our mission is to empower individuals to harness their inner strength and cosmic alignment, creating profound shifts in energy and unlocking the true power of their astrological and elemental essence. My name is Cami, and I am one of your hosts.
And I'm Tracy, your other host. Let's get to it.
Here we
Hello.
are.
Hello, Cami.
Hello. Hello, Tracy.
Welcome to Aries.
Yes, welcome to Aries. Oh my goodness. I am excited about Aries. It has not been one of my favorite signs, but as I have been starting to go down this path of astrology and learning about the planets and learning about all of the elements that go along with it, I am actually falling in love with the Aries. So it's a very interesting space for me to be in right now.
That's so funny you say that. And I feel the same. And I was contemplating this morning if it's because you're a Pisces and I'm a Pisces. And even though Pisces and Aries are right next to each other, one's the end and one's the beginning. And so it does feel very far away. It feels very different than our flowing waters or, our mutable waters. And then to come to this fiery explosion of Aries feels very different. And so it's great to hear you say that I'm not the only one. I think it's the Pisces thing.
It must be. That's really interesting too that you just put that together because I have always wondered why I have such an aversion to Aries and I get annoyed by them very quickly. And I do believe that it is something to do with our natural state of being. Both of our sun signs are Pisces, but at different times even. Like you're a little bit later, you're closer to that Aries side, and you still feeling that is really interesting.
Well, I'm at
I'm
the
definitely
beginning. I'm at the beginning of Pisces.
same with me. Oh no, you're at the very, very
I'm at the
beginning. That's
very
right. That's
beginning.
right. That's right. That's right. That's right. You are at the very beginning. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I know. And people out there listening are probably like, "What do you mean by this?" So let's fill them
Let's
in.
dive
So
into it.
so I'm going to set us up and then I'm going to hand it over to you to give us a few details. So first off, if you're listening, I want you to envision a wheel, a circle, and in the 9 o'clock position is where we begin with Aries and we're coming up. So it's great to have that little vision. And in that 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock part of the circle is what we're focusing on for springtime. And truly, March 21st is like the beginning of a new, fresh cycle. It's not the beginning of our solar calendar year, but it is the beginning of a fresh cycle. So I would love, Cami, for you to set the scene for more of the elemental elements. If I could just allow
Elemental
myself
element.
to introduce myself. So yeah, talk about the elements associated with Aries and kind of set the scene for us.
Okay. Well, as we were just talking, we're just moving from water, which is where we have been for the last little bit. We're now moving into fire. And fire is all about the activation. It is about the initiation. It's the spark that gets lit and is now like part of the wildfire. So think of things starting to bloom, think of things starting to come to life. Um, it's that initiate, it's action, it's all about uh yeah, the element of fire. It's like just it's passion, it's fun, it's alive, it's coming out of the slumber and the sleep that we've been in. So this is the very beginning of our actual calendar. The calendar that we all look at and have been following for so many years, I believe, is a Gregorian calendar, correct? And it starts us off in January. And people always wonder, why are we not ready to start our new year in January? Well, new year in January is still in that slumber state. We are not in this like activation, let's do things, let's go. And so in what we're doing now is thinking about the beginning of the year starting in April or starting in the end of March, at the solstice or equinox, and beginning our seeds that we planted are now going to start to come to life. Our The fire is going to take that new idea and run with it. It is now, we have planted everything that we needed to, and now we get to actually like be in the action state. So that is what Aries does. And so a lot of times, like for me, Aries activate me. They activate me in a way that I feel dissonance. I have a little bit of this, because they're very selfish, is how I look at them. It's all about I am. It's about me. It's about the internal part, and they don't really. A lot of people that come into the world with a sun sign as Aries, they don't think about the other so much. And like we just said, we're both Pisces, and we do think about the other. The other is how our natural state is. So moving into this element of fire and element of action and the beginning of something and thinking of selfishly, we now get to be in our own unique I am space. And I am really excited about that. But fire is about initiation, activation. Let's get going. Let's do it. Which
Oh
is
my
part
gosh.
of us doing this activation in the series. Is it is starting us off into what we're setting ourselves up for the whole year. And we are going to be initiating ourselves into having these conversations and going a little bit deeper and having our circles that we're going to be able to meet in person. And so, yeah, I'm so excited for us to have aligned it this way, and taking in the full
I
energy
want to go
of
back
Aries.
to what you said, um, when you said this is our opportunity to move into the I am. And I think that's really great, especially to honor the transition of Pisces to Aries, where in Pisces we do wear our heart on our sleeve. We are trying to just fit into whatever container is made for us, and we will just conform and be there for others. And to know that it's okay to move into this next month and really nurture within and think about ourselves. And yes, it is all about I am. And the ram is that symbol for Aries, and the ram just wants to butt into it. It's that creation, the ability to create something from nothing. And so Aries, I know for me, it just seems like they're just always so ready to go. Always have so much like energy, and I'm like, just slow down. But yet they're just ready to go for it because they're that ram who just they're not worried about what's on the other side. And that's where Pisces can get, I think, a little annoyed because we're like, I can see everything that's happening on the other side, and Aries is like, I'm not concerned with that. I just want to ram into it. I just want to push. But that's what we need because it kicks off the whole new year. And so, real quick, before you get into the ruling planet, I just want to drop something in because when I started learning about all this myself, we have the way it goes is that summer and winter are more outward expressing, and then spring and fall are more inward expressing. But winter and spring get confusing. Winter, you would think you want to go inside, you would think it's more about a slowing down. And springtime, you would think is more expressive because everybody's starting to go to Home Depot and get those gardens started and coming out, and it's so alive, and the babies, the deer, and the bunnies, everything's happening. But when I think about childbirth, I'm like, oh, what happens when this is what's happening. This is the birth of a new cycle. The animals are birthing their babies. The seeds are birthing their first sprouts, right? It's all about this first life. And when a baby is born and that head pops out, they call that the ring of fire, right? And so it really is this like cataclysmic event, this burst of something appearing from nothing, right? All of a sudden we have another human being in the world. But then from there, it is an intense inner focus of nurturing and loving and that I am, right? It's about, and so then we go from Aries, and we'll talk about this later, then we go into Taurus, and it's rooting down, and it's all about feeding that baby and nourishing that baby and getting them strength and healthy in their body. And the mama is recovering her body. It's all about the food and the nutrition. And every Taurus I know loves to eat and loves to be in a big comfy blanket. So once I started realizing my own process of having a baby and what that means, I was like, oh, springtime, it's all about the newness. But what do you do when you have new life? You hunker down and you go in. And so I kind of went, okay, so there is like two outward and two inward seasons, but the summer is outward expressing, whereas the winter is outward nurturing, where the fall is inward expressing, and the spring is inward nurturing. And once I kind of figured that out, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense because we are busy in the winter, but we're not busy going out to everyone. We're busy outwardly nurturing the things around us, planting those seeds, right? Like that is the time we plant the seeds, is over that winter time. That's why we have Capricorn starting us out. But just focusing on Aries, that it does seem very expressive, it does seem very big, but it's because it's that creation from nothing to start the cycle, but it's very inward nurturing.
Which is super interesting that you just said that too. I love this conversation. Because there is one of the things that I was looking at with Aries is like it is that I am, and they're courageous and determined and really are confident. A lot of times they have this underbelly of confidence, and I think that comes from going within and coming back home to themselves on a regular basis. That's where I know my confidence comes from, when I come back inward, right? And so I think that there is something to that, and I've never thought of spring. I've always thought of it being this like masculine energy. It's an outward. But what you just said is, yes, it is part of the masculine. Aries is under a masculine sign, quote unquote, but it is that that seed being planted within the womb, and now nurturing that seed in a different way. So I'm really fascinated by that like new little thought process for myself about
Yeah.
Aries.
It helped me because I'm like, how am I going to get spring as this like nurturing, slowing down inward? I'm like, it feels so outward, but that is what everybody is doing there. It's all about eating and nurturing and building. I am, right? Building
Yeah.
their strength. So you are going to tell us what the ruling planet is.
Oh, okay. The ruling planet for Aries is Mars. Mars transits every 1.5 months to a new sign. So it is something that brings attention to things on a cycle that we get to revisit every 1.5 months. With Mars ruling the Aries is the first house, and it's all about energy. So it's the initiate, it's action, it's desire, it's passion, it's aggression, it's anger, it's male. It can be really domineering is what I like. Mars is a very dominant energetic. Mars is that masculine energy. We look at the symbol for Mars. It is an outward facing arrow, and so anything that you think of that comes with Mars in astrology, it is outward facing. So that's where I think that part of the Aries that we have always thought of is being that masculine energy and that outward. And then you talking about it coming more inward. It's like this, there is an activation, but it's not necessarily about the outward expression. It really is about that inward. So, but yeah, Mars is our ruling
Mars.
planet.
I always like to think about it. So in the sky, if we're picturing the sky, we have all of the constellations that are all around us. and then the planets are roaming around in between, right? And so when you think about it, when a planet is, from our perspective on Earth, in between us and a constellation, then we say that that planet is in that constellation, right? And so when the planet like Mars comes into Aries, comes in between Earth and Aries, it's like, and that planet is ruled, or that constellation is ruled by that planet. That's like having your homie come to your house. That's like your best friend shows up to your house for dinner and you are
Mhm.
ready to like go make shit happen. Like, what would that be like if your best friend was coming to dinner? How would you act? How would you feel? You would feel like yourself. You would be excited. You would be doing all the things that make you feel great because you know you're having someone come that supports you, that loves you. Well, if you're, I don't know, maybe your mother-in-law's coming to town, that's going to be like a planet that disturbs you coming in and affecting you. So that's what, when we talk about these planets are ruling these signs and then the planet is in that sign, think of it as different people coming to dinner. And so for Aries, it is on fire and on point when Mars comes to dinner.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the other thing too, is like having this relationship with these planets as if they are your friends, and how to actually interact with them. In the first house, it's all about your personality and how others perceive you. So that is also what we're talking about here. It's like how you show up to others outside of us, and so when we're thinking about that, of like, okay, how do you show up when your best friend shows up? And then how do you show up when your mother-in-law shows up? Or someone that you don't necessarily want to have in your house at that moment in
Hmm.
time. Doesn't necessarily have to be your mother-in-law, but you know what I
Right.
mean.
Exactly. I know. For some of us, we love our mother-in-laws. Mine's coming to town, and I couldn't be more excited. But another way of putting it sometimes is, when I heard the saying that the signs are the ways in which we process energy, the planets are energies.
Yep.
So we are connected to the constellation because we also will then, if like our sun sign, it's like that's how we're going to process energy. And then when different energies come around, if that energy is compatible, like Mars is compatible with Aries, then we're going to feel great and we're going to process everything in our best way. But when that energy comes that we're not used to, that's different than us. We're going to process that energy and maybe use some of our tactics of dealing with things that aren't necessarily out of strength and more out of our fear-based reactions and learned behavior from childhood and struggles and all those things. So,
Yeah, well, it's the alchemy, right? It's being able to transform and use the energy of the planet, use the energy of the signs,
mm,
and activate those parts within ourselves, and use it for medicine. Because so many of us, like what we were talked about in the very beginning of this, is that we are both Pisces. We both live in a world that is not here. That is just our natural innate space that we live in. So the activation with any and all of these other signs that are not in the water signs, we are going to have to learn how to do a dance with them, or else we're going to be incongruent in our own inner workings, right? And so
mm,
learning how to have our fire on board and our activation, and not just want to stay in bed and be cozy or be with our best friends, our dogs, all day long, because and be in a dream space, because that is where I know that I want to always be in the creative dream space, and not quote unquote in reality. But the fire person that and the other fire signs, there's going to be other fire signs that we'll be touching on, same with other water signs, etc. But we get to learn how to dance with each of those different energies when we activate them within ourselves. And so, okay, what is that initiation for you? What is the thing? Is it dance? Is it singing? Is it movement? That is going to get your body to start to activate the fire within you, to be able to have a relationship with those other fire signs, and like bridge them together.
I love the way you put that because so often, especially when I'm reading tarot, I try to not use words like good or bad. But I feel like signs and our experiences can feel good or bad. But the way you just put it was this nod to like, no, it's either going to be challenging you and initiating you into a deeper awareness of yourself, or it's going to be a gift to help you dance and flourish and be your creative self. And I kind of look at, we think about just taking care of our body. Well, we do things to take care of our body that feel quote unquote good, like getting massages and, washing our hair and moisturizing, and we're really pampering ourselves and being comfortable and eating really good food. It's like those are the planets that are coming into the signs that they rule. Like this is everybody getting along. This is good stuff. But then we also know that we have to get our heart rate up and we've got to move our body and we've got to stretch and we do need to not necessarily have to weight train, but it's good to test our muscles and to try to, those things aren't easy. You could say those are bad. They don't feel good. They're difficult and all that, but that's what hones us. That's what makes us stronger. And so I love the way you put it, that it's these other signs and these other planets, even though sometimes it seems that they are fighting against each other or fighting against our natural way of being, it's an opportunity for us to learn and grow about ourselves and initiate into that. So I love that how you explained it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I know for myself, being such a water sign, it has been a challenge. Fire is a very challenging spot for me. However, I accumulate people in my life that are all fire signs, and my best friend, my husband, my like all of these people in my life are these places and spaces so that they can continue to activate me, so that I'm not going to just want to be in la la land and all the things. And so I have really learned that having these relationships with these other types of energies is really important to me, and it allows me to kind of bring that on board instead of just being slow and methodical and, more of this earth and water signs. So yeah, anyway, I love that. The other thing I just wanted to say in regards to Aries and activations or fire, and, we're coming from the lens of water. That is where we both, our sun signs, land. If you are a sun sign that lands in a fire sign, which is going to be a Sagittarius, an Aries, and
Leo.
let's see, and Leo. Yeah, I'm like, I know the other ones because I have them in my chart too. Um, are You might be really, really, really comfortable, and it might not be a stretch to be in this sign. And so when you're here, we are having this conversation saying it's a little bit challenging for us sometimes to go into that fire sign. If you're an earth sign, it might be challenging for fire. If you're an air sign, it might be challenging for fire. But when it is your sun sign, most people are going to feel very comfortable in this space, and it is not an activation. And maybe our Pisces is an activation for you. So it's that conversation of constantly looking at where our elements fall, what are the things that we are naturally drawn to and naturally activated by, and being able to have that relationship with those different signs based off of our own,
Right.
stability, I guess.
Right, where we come in our own little unique blueprint, cosmic
Yeah.
blueprint of who we are. I did want to bring in, I'm going to read from this book throughout this whole podcast series, but it's called The Inner Sky by Stephen Forrest. And I just feel that the way this guy writes about astrology makes you aware of the wonder and the magic and how beautiful it all is. So I just want to read a short thing about the symbol, about a little bit about Aries. The ram, horns down, charging, fierce, unyielding. Will the ram crack his skull? He doesn't care. Nothing can intimidate him. Nothing can force him to swerve. Victory or self-destruction in the effort to attain it. Two destinies, one will claim him. Like, I just love how he writes. Like, it's super intense, right? I'll just read this next little part. Aries is the life force, The life force, the will to exist. First there is nothing, then there is something. Life thrusts itself out of nowhere, claiming a place in the void. The tone of the process is unflinching, explosive, violent. It conjures up pictures of volcanoes of white hot stars bursting into tattered nebulas. A rabid dog backs you up to a precipice, fangs bared, mouth foaming. You have a hunting knife in your hand. He moves in, growling, eyes glaring red. You brace yourself. No more veneer of gentility and education. No more language. Nothing left but the animal rage to survive. You scream. You drive for the throat. You have found Aries.
God.
Steven! Steven! What? I know. How fun.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. I need that book.
Well, and what's cool, and we're not going to go over it all here, but then it says the end point. So it's talking about what Aries is moving towards, the strategies it can use, and the resources. So and the shadow, which is always fun. And so a really great book. I will read from it more because just a brilliant way of interpreting the signs. And so we're getting this idea of Aries now. You got to give them credit because they get shit started. They get it started, but they can't do it alone. But what I want to know is how are you feeling this? Because we are moving towards Aries now. Are you feeling any Aries energy in your life currently?
Yeah. Um, this podcast
Yeah,
right now.
right?
Like this podcast and this series that we're going to be doing, circles, elemental wisdom circles, that we're going to host here in Tacoma, Washington. If anybody is around and wants to be understand about it or learn more about it, let us know. We would be happy to get some information to you. But I yeah, that's my activation point is, I have been in this creativity. It started, when did we start deciding that we were going to do this? I think it was in like November. Nope,
It was a
it was
long
in
time ago.
December. It was in November or December because I think it was in the Capricorn time. And I was like, okay, this is us like writing things down, getting, our rhythm down and all of those things, and then being able to go into the slumber a little bit and allow ourselves to reset and think about the emotional connection that we were going to have when we're going to be able to touch other people with what we have, the wisdom that we're carrying, right? And then now going into this next iteration of the fire and the activation, I am feeling like I need to start using my voice, and that is not something that I have done and I've felt comfortable with. So I think that the Aries is definitely activating me in a way of like, let's get the shit going and stop waiting and wanting for it to be perfect. And my delay tactics that I end up doing on a regular basis, my self saboteur that comes on board, she is taking a back seat. She's taking a little bit of a back seat right now, and I have that activation. Now, is that going to change in the next coming month? I don't know, because we are all in the cyclical cycle of new beginnings and new things that are changing, ever changing. And but yeah, how about you? What about you? What are you feeling with Aries?
I think feeling a lot of the same, just a lot of ideas of things that I want to do, and but not just the idea, because that would be very air element, but also really feeling like things are already on a path, and so wanting to expand upon those things a little bit, and feeling so excited to bust through to the vision that I've always had. And of course, you and I both, we know because we're friends on a personal side, we've also been doing a lot of work. We've been doing the shadow work. We've been going into the deep, dark crevices of our soul and going, how are we holding ourselves down? How can we be better? How can we process energy in a more beneficial way for ourselves? Because that's what it all is. It's energy. And I know right now, if you follow astrology, there's so many things happening with planets aligning and the retrogrades and planets coming around, entering new constellations that they haven't entered for a long time. And there is a lot of energy, and people can take that whatever way they want. And I hear a lot of people being like, I just feel so crazy because just the energies. And it's like, well, then you're taking the energy and you're allowing it to overshadow you, to take over you. But when we recognize what's happening, that all of these energies, yes, can spin us out, but it's also potent for intention setting and manifesting. And so it's all about how we want to process the energy, right? And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about astrology, talking about signs and planets. It's all energy and how we use it and how we ride the wave. So I think it's a really potent time. I'm feeling it, but it feels really positive for me personally. And I have a lot of plans. Of course, with Aries, it's not so good about finishing. Aries is great
Yeah.
about getting stuff started, but that's why we learn every season, every month we go into, because there's going to be things that take our energy for each month, and Aries gets it started, but we're going to be finishing it down the road. But we need to be aware of the different steps and how to move from the initiate to embodiment to envisionment, because we go from the fire to the earth to the air to the water, and that's how we go all the way around the circle. So I'm feeling it. I'm feeling good. I'm ready to get some shit started.
Same. I did want to also ask, I know that we had talked about tarot and how you can bring in tarot into this element, and what card is typically associated with Aries.
So the main major arcana card that's associated, just real quick because we'll talk about it more, but in the tarot is actually made up of two decks, one major arcana and one called minor arcana, arcana being Latin for secrets. So we've got major secrets and minor secrets. And the major arcana goes 0 to 22. We won't go into this every time, but 0 to 22. And those are the major overshadowing whys. Those are the main things. It kind of tells the story of the fool's journey, which is the story of a life and all the things we go through. And you can kind of look at it as a birth to death, but also we go through these cycles constantly throughout one lifetime. And in the major arcana, the association would be the Emperor, card number 4. It is the daddy card. And not just representing fathers, but also what are fathers? Fathers are like the sun. They are like the sun sun. They are supposed to show up on time, steadily. We can depend on them. They provide, they shelter, they keep us safe. They keep us what else do they do? Keep us safe. What's that other word I was looking for? And I can't remember it, but provide. They provide.
Provide their protector. I keep seeing just like the protector. They are
Yes,
the ones that are going to, again, keep you safe, that are going to keep you in a house, like it is, like I just
exactly.
keep seeing this, like it's a very, not confining. I can't say confining or overshadowing, but it
Yes.
feels very
Security.
secure.
That's the word I
Security.
was looking for. It's security.
Perfect.
So, and a really great, I always remember masculine is the line and feminine is the circle, right? It's the matrix, baby. And it's very masculine to go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4. It's a clear shot. It's a program. It's been tried and true. It's very masculine to hop on board and be seen and not heard and just be compliant, which is so funny because it's what we've put on women since like the beginning of time, to just be quiet and be compliant. But it is a woman's power to fight against people, to see all the angles. That's why we're the mothers, because we have to be able to fight and stand up for our babies and for our communities. And so we are the ones who cannot, like, we can't sit in a circle and all put our thoughts in there, because we all have an opinion. You put men, they're going to line up and follow the leader and just do whatever the leader says. And so when we look at Aries, we really understand that, like, it's just a drive. It's just go forward. It's the way we do it. It has no room for the feminine perspective, right? Of what's going to happen, why are we doing it, what are the other ways of doing it. the Aries is tied with the emperor, with that daddy, because it's like how many fathers say to their kids, this is the process that will lead you to a happy life. You have to do this, finish school, go to college, get a house, live here, live this way. He knows it's going to work. And so it's that one way, one direction, very straightforward. And that is the ram, as we just said. It is like, don't make a choice, just move forward. Move forward in action. It also is associated with three cards in the minor arcana. So the minor arcana are set up like a deck of cards. You have four suits, ace through 10, plus the court cards. And all of the wands are fire signs. So the Ace of Wands is going to embody all of the attributes of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. The 2, 3, and 4 wands deal with Aries. The 2 of wands is Mars in Aries. And remember, Mars rules Aries. And we call that dominion. It's power. It's coming into your own power, connection with the solar plexus. Because remember, we were talking, when the planets that rule you come into town, everybody's having a party. And so you're feeling in your element, right? Dominion. It's like you're dominating, like, this is my house. I've got it. I'm in control. I know who I am, what I want, and I'm on my way. The 3 of wands is the sun in Aries. Another good one because we have another masculine planet, the sun. We have a lot of fire. Mars is the fiery planet. Like, so very similar attributes, Mars and sun. And so we have the 3 of wands being virtue. It's aligning our actions with our heart, with our higher truth, right? So we see Aries and we see the fiery warrior starting to find purpose, starting to connect it, right? That ram is beginning to think, what's on the other side when I bust through? So 3 of wands is very much like creating your path, creating your plan, and being ready to set out on your way. And then the 4, I love the 4 of wands. It's one of my favorite cards because it's Venus in Aries, and Venus and Mars balance each other out. They're like brother and sister. And so what happens is, as we said, Aries and Mars, they just want to get started. And then Venus comes and says, let's round it out. Let's bring it home. You've done enough. It's time to complete. And that's what the 4 is called, completion. It's balancing, it's finishing what we start. And what we see on the card is kind of like a celebration. It almost looks like people are coming through the end of a race or coming back with their arms up. Like, it's a celebration. Fours are all about winding down and taking a rest or taking a beat, like a checkpoint anyways. And this is a moment, the 4 of wands, to say, hey, you need to be proud and aware of all that you have started and look at how far it's come, because this is anniversaries, birthdays, retirements. So it's not necessarily that it is the end, but it's recognizing how things have come back to you, which is a really elevated place for Aries to be. When we understand who Aries is, that 4, because of Venus coming in and just bringing that balance, it really helps Aries kind of flourish into everything, because not only did they get things started, but they're also ready to take that backwards look, which what ram ever looks behind them, right? So this is a very elevated, beautiful card for the wands and for the fire element itself.
I love hearing that because we don't think of Aries finishing anything ever.
But they can. But they
But they
can.
can, and that is that high road. That is the high road, or the elevated, or the your higher self actually rounding out all of it when you take in all of the energies of all of the different parts of you. So if you, and again, if you have Venus in as one of your ruling planets, this may be your like wheelhouse instead of in Mars or in your sun being a ruling planet. So I think that this is just really beautiful, and I love that it's a like a reflection space of looking back at what they started and where they get to go from here. So I feel like that
Exactly.
is a great little ending to where Aries has taken us today. What are your thoughts?
I love it. I think so too. I was feeling completed. But I did want to point out real quick, just as a little tip, if you're interested in learning tarot, we can't show up every day and ask deep, soulful questions about our life. Sometimes we have to go make the mistakes we want to ask the tarot about later. So, a really great way to connect with your tarot is if you know what's happening in the sky right now, if you know that the sun is in Aries today, or you know that Mars is in Aries today, then you can say, well, where are the planets? And then go find that card and reflect on it and reflect on what it means and reflect on how that comes coming into your life, because the tarot and astrology is all about our life, and we're not always trying to ask questions and learn about it. Sometimes we're just trying to embody and understand, and be aware and nurture ourselves through the understanding we have.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that so that people can be really clear of how to find the card that would associate with that? So, like you just said, with if the sky today was Aries in Mars, or if that's
Mars and
in
Aries,
the
yeah.
Mars and Aries, sorry. How would we know that we're looking at a four card of the ace or the Four of Wands? Like, what would be the defining?
So
Is it based
there's
off of the day? Is it based?
it's not based off of the day, and I'm not someone who tracks astrology. I know that there's a lot of apps, but I'm a Googler. And so what I would do is, if you could always say, where's the sun? What sign is sun in today? What sign is Mars in today? This is the thing though. There's not a tarot card for every single combination of planets and signs. So we only have Mars in Aries, Sun in Aries, and Venus in Aries. We don't have a card for the moon in Aries. I feel like one day we should make one, because I feel like we need to honor everything. Um,
Maybe that's our mission.
I think that might be our mission. Don't tell anybody. But so it is a little tricky. And so it takes a little bit of knowledge, right? To say, just kind of know, having a book that has all the information in it, a tarot book that's going to tell you what the planets and the signs are. Being able to have some, Google it, or having an app. So you do kind of have to know, but this is just, if people are already into astrology, if they're kind of already on a road, this is a great practice to, or just something to know that, there's things happening in the sky in real time, and we can find that card and reflect on it and move from there. Or just, also, let's say you happen to pull a card for the day, and then you can reflect on what that planet and sign association is, and take it back to your own chart and see if that relates to your own chart, or do some digging and see when that's going to be happening. And tarot is so crazy. Things line up all the time. So the idea that you could pull a card and then recognize that that's actually what's happening in the world today is not far off from happening. But there's ways to play around where you're learning about astrology, and you're learning about the tarot, and you're reflecting on your life without it being this deep soul dive every time.
Right. And I think that that's what we're trying to explain here, is that it doesn't really have to be so intense. There's so much more. There's so much more that we can dive into, but it doesn't have to be like that. It can just be, here's the energy, here's where we're at, let's reflect, move forward. And so it's one of those, this is a place to play, and this is somewhere where we get to just express who we are as human beings on this planet, and follow these different wisdom keepers. The stars are just amazing to be
Mm.
able to do that, and tarot, is aligned with all of that. It is aligned with astrology, and so I'm just so excited about where we're going from here. And so thank you for this great conversation about Aries, and making me fall in love a little bit more with the energy of Aries.
I love it. I love it. And we get to talk about 11 more signs. Yay. So
Yay.
that's all we have for Aries, and we'll see you next time for Taurus.
See you next time.